And we're live. Here we are. We're here. Well, okay, this is not representative of what all is here. Welcome, everyone. I'm the Love Doctor. This is the Love Doctor live stream. Joining us is Miss Kiki Karma. She's doing a last-minute fill-in for Zyra Lee, who unfortunately could not be here. I want to say hello to everybody. People are jumping in already. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. Also, for the very first time, we have the very nice goddess Starla Vamp is joining us. We're going to be...
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. This is fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun. What we're doing is we're answering people's questions about love, sex, and relationships. And having a bit of a crack at the same time. So let's have an enjoyment. I have my drink. Everybody has their drinks, and we're going to get started. This is StreamYard, which is the format they're on. They're not sponsoring us.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good. Oh, what are you drinking, Kinky?
I am drinking beer because I had cocktails all weekend and I cannot be bothered.
There we are. That's true. Okay, Ruroshen. We're going to get back to that, Kinky, in a second. Ruroshen is saying hello from Scarborough. Welcome, Ruroshen. Kinky, you had the arabesque burlesque school debut. You performed this weekend at the Wiggle Room. Oh, just Friday, Saturday, or
just
Thursday,
Friday. Actually, it was Thursday and Friday. So
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday was a rehearsal. Yeah, I officially debuted my first number in 2 years.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Wow.
A burlesque performance.
Yes, it was a nice burlesque performance. Lots of lights, lots of darkness, lots of capes.
And I saw a video. Was that on your Instagram?
Yes. Thanks to Miss Milky Buns that actually took a part of it. But yeah, it was actually that.
All right, I'm going to put that up here. I should have asked before we get started. Goddess Starla, is it all right if I just call you Starla?
Yes, that's
all right. And is it okay if I share your Instagram as well?
Sure.
During the show, and this way people can find out more about you.
I just made it, so I have like one follower, but
after tonight, you'll have more than one. At least you'll have two with me.
There we are. And I think I might be that one follower because I hit follow earlier tonight. So
yeah.
That's at Goddess Starla Vamp on Instagram. The capitals are not necessary, but I just put that in there to help people spell it because 3 S's in a row is a little confusing. Yeah. There's no dots, whereas with exactly Miss Kiki Karma is got a dot with the Miss MS, so that's more Ms, isn't it? But
yes, it's Ms because I is not married.
All right. Whoa. All right. That's something. We're getting spammed on YouTube, so we have to block somebody. But that's weird thing on YouTube. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. But why don't we start with our first questions here? I thought we were getting a lot of questions in from everybody. If you want to leave your questions or ask your questions, you can ask them in the chat, or you can ask them anonymously by going to slido.com or sli.do. Either one works, and using the event code TLD203. That's how you can leave anonymous questions, TLD203. And so far, only one person has said hello, and I know there's more people watching than that. So let's see. So the anonymous question is running at the bottom. Here is our first question. Was I had a wet dream about what? No, that's not the first. We started at the bottom.
Yeah.
Should pets be barred from the bedroom while people are having sex? First to answer that is going to be Miss Kiki Karma.
My cats are actually very polite. When they see that there's some action, they actually leave the room on their own. But that cannot be said with one of my lover's pets. Honestly, I mean, as long as they don't interfere, let's just keep them there. And if it's not your thing, then I wouldn't say bar, just like asking them to go somewhere else for a bit, because I mean it's their house too. It's not just yours.
My turn. Personally, I have a pet cat, and it weirds me out if he watches me, like if he's looking at me. I can't do my thing, so yeah, I get weirded out by it personally. So it's like no dogs, no cats on the bed. If they're all the way on the other side of the room, hopefully you're engaged enough that you don't even notice that they're watching. But if I look over and I see my cat looking at me, like I freeze. So I would say, but some people are comfortable with it. Whatever, you got your cozy little like nest going on, but I personally won't do it.
I think the love doctor is muted.
Oh, that would explain
There
why
we
no
go.
one could hear me earlier. That happens. I was trying to fix things on YouTube, but I have to say, personally, I'd like them outside the door. If they leave on their own, that's fantastic. But if they're a little too curious, and I'm not going to confirm whether or not somebody thought something dangly and fuzzy was worth batting at with claws out. But it is my preference that they're not in the room at the time. Everybody has their own preference. And of course, never have sex with animals. They cannot consent. So, and consent is not just sexy. It's fucking necessary. Oh, and by the way, Starla, we do swear on this occasionally, in case you didn't know.
I'm not offended.
Yeah.
There we are. We're talking about pets in the bedroom. We're at that level.
That's a great way to start.
Unless it's pet play.
Well, yeah.
With a dog mask, that's one thing, but otherwise get the pets out of the room. Yeah.
Exactly. Pet play is because the person can consent to that before putting on the mask and getting into character.
But I have a follow-up question though, because I mean, I have cats that if I kick them out of my room, they are going to stay like in front of the door and they're going to meow because it's their house. What do you do then? Does it
put on some music?
I mean, put on some good music. I mean, first off, I guess that means you're not in charge and you're your own host at this point.
No, I am merely a servant to Stir Kingdom. But I mean, it is a legit. I think it's a good follow-up question. Like, would you rather have your pets in the same room or outside, but making a mess and try to get in, like dogs or cat, regardless?
I would set hard limits, like get out, bye, crack open a can of tuna, go, like, you know?
Okay,
on your own. You've got those thumbs. You open the can of tuna. Oh, you find out that you're not the alpha then, all right? Then you have to be kind to me and give me this time that I want. So I thank you, Starla, for letting me jump in on that. It was yeah, that is the question. Now, if the cats, if they all leave your bedroom on your own, then that's fine. But if they're in there and you don't want them in there, then you kind of have to edge them out.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's making me sit funny remembering all of that time past. Are we ready for the next question? And by the way, I see there's a lot of you watching, and some of you have been hitting like. That is great. Say hello. Tell us where you're watching from, what you're drinking, and if you have any questions about love, sex, and relationships, you can put them into the comments. And we have our next question. I had a wet dream about my coworker. I haven't had one of those since I was 16. I don't know how to process this because I don't normally find her attractive. Plus, I'm happily married. Why is my brain doing this to me? All right. We got a hello from Manhattan. Sex, love, and relationships after 60. Should I even try? Bearing in mind, I'm allergic to cats. Can we handle this question first? Can we?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they were brave
I
enough to
feel
ask the
that.
question.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to this question first, and then we'll get back to the wet dream question. Steve, look, yes, it doesn't matter when. If it happens, then you enjoy it, and then you try to be the best person you can be in that relationship, and expect that the other person is trying to be the best person they can be. That is what's going to help make a relationship work, and keeping communication and dialogue with your partner at that time. Sex after 60 still happens. It's still fun. So enjoy yourself and enjoy your partner, and be as good a person as you can while you do it. Miss Kinky Karma.
Yeah, it'd be sad if not. It'd be sad if you couldn't. I do feel that, however, personally, because I mean, I'm seeing it from a 30 years type of view, so I'm kind of extrapoling it, is that love after 60 wouldn't be the same as love at 20 or 18. So I think that needs to be taken under consideration. I personally kind of romanticize the older type of love because like there's more maturity, there's less fuckery. I hope there's there's less fuckery, there's less like there's more communications. There's a lot more maturity and emotional maturity out of it. So definitely. However, I do feel that especially if you're going back to that dating pool to redefine what love, sex, and relationship should be for you at that time.
Age doesn't guarantee wisdom. I just want to state that.
I know, but I
Goddess
mean, I could
Starla.
still hope.
Well, I have to say, like, during the pandemic, it can be really discouraging to date. It's hard to go on a date. When we couldn't even sit down in a coffee shop. But like I've seen men who they still like to get whipped and spanked in their 60s, and if their bodies can handle it in their 70s. So definitely the drive is still there, and it's just finding out what that means to you and finding I want to say the motivation and inspiration, because yeah, your desires are going to change later. Also pop a Claritin. Like I know
Yeah.
a lot of single women, we have cats, but yeah, Claritin. Or else bring her to your place, or just get one of those lint rollers, like just do a little bit of extra work for it, and like it's worth it, and there's still a world of opportunity to meet people and
Boom.
spice it up. Like get some whips and chains, and like you'll be surprised. Go on Tinder, like swipe. You just got to work at it.
I also like to mention, just actually join a book club. It doesn't necessarily have to be all about whips and chains. You could be finding somebody who's compatible. It does. It is for some people, and that is fine. And if it isn't for other people, then that is also fine.
Right.
Which I think is a good thing. Find your speed, Steve. And I hope we answered your question well. All right, now we're back to the wet dream about the coworker. So they had the wet dream about their coworker. Haven't had one of those since I was 16. Don't know how to process this because I don't normally find her attractive. Plus, I'm happily married. Why is my brain doing this to me? Starla, you're in the hot seat.
Well, that's dealing with your subconscious, and it'll throw all these things at you. Like I have the weirdest dreams, and like I don't know what they mean. Sometimes I do get freaked out about, well, what did that mean? Why did that happen? And if it's so vivid, you want to decode it, but you can't. And it's just your body working stuff out, and it's trying to keep you fresh. Like, it's not a bad thing to have a wet dream. Like, but I wouldn't like read into it or be too concerned. Like it doesn't mean that subtracts from your love and attractiveness to your wife.
Well said. If I was to add anything to that, I'm going to say that wet dreams, it's just basically it's checking to see if your plumbing is working. They're not necessarily attached to what's happening in your head. It's not about your dream at the time or dreams that you're having at the time. It is, there's no biological correlation. If this happened, if you were participating in No Nut November, it could be that your body had sort of had a little bit of a build-up. It just wanted to test that everything was working, and that's why you had the gooey crotch sneeze in your bed in the morning. So I'm saying don't worry about it. I don't think it has any connection with your coworker. Just clean your sheets.
I have questions.
Yes.
I thought No Nut November was only a big mouth thing. I didn't think it was a real thing.
Some people choose to participate in it.
But why? Masturbation is a great thing. Anyways. But to go back to the question.
All right, well, let's answer that question, then we'll come back to
No Nut November.
Right.
To my question about that. But to add on everything that it says, you can actually be happily married and love someone and still feel attractiveness and feel another type of love for someone else, and it's totally okay. I mean, I think we all heard the term work wife or work husband. I mean, I have two of them, and I am in 2 work relationships where they're strictly about work. And I also have another relationship like that's on my own. That's besides the fact that I'm in poly and I'm open. It's just that it's just a different type of love or a different type of attractiveness, and that is okay. So yeah, perhaps you had a wet dream because you wanted to make sure that your plumbing was still working. But if you have a connection with that coworker, perhaps that's the reason why your brain just decided to mesh the 2 together, and you shouldn't really think too much of it. Unless you really don't like her, then I mean, then that's kind of sucky.
We do have a bit of a follow-up here from Steve Efron in Manhattan. He says, you guys are great. Thanks. How did Starla read me so well? Alas, some fantasies are ruined when acted out. That's, sometimes it is because it's better in your head and it's not set up, to your liking, or there's certain things about reality that you're not thinking about when you're having a fantasy. That's why they're fantasies. Also, at the same time, I think people need companionship no matter what age they are. Mm-hmm. Anyone have any further comments on that before we jump on November? Yeah,
well, I mean, this is the reason why I think that sometimes some fantasies are better not being played. I mean, I always wanted to have sex on the beach, but I know that I'm not gonna have it because sand in my pussy is not something that I want. And there's too much sand in the beach in order for it not to happen.
And it gets everywhere, especially everywhere wet.
Yeah, and like sex underwater as well. It's always something that I wanted to do, but then I realized and I heard about pressure and all the things that can go wrong, and I'm like, it's gonna stay in my head, it's gonna live rent free, and that's it. And it's okay.
Yeah, I think fantasies can be like the dangling carrot, and you never catch it, and you never and it's
kind of like my belief for Santa Claus. I know he doesn't exist, but I don't want to ruin the fantasy.
I think fantasies are motivating.
Yeah.
It's romantic. And when things are complicated ethically and things like that, and you're in a monogamous relationship and you're not going to cheat on it, it's okay to have fantasies because your brain is just gonna unwire all these things. And it doesn't mean that you have to act out on it. It's like we watch movies, we have all this entertainment, and our brain goes all these different places with all these different storylines, and just because you're watching it or thinking about it doesn't mean you're acting on it or doing those things, copying those things. So
thought crimes are not crimes.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. No Nut November.
Yes, please. I saw that on the last season of Big Mouth, and I really thought that it was a joke to explain how masturbation is something great. And it shouldn't be villainized. I didn't actually think that it was a real thing that real human that was not on Big Mouth actually did. No judging. There's no judgments. Just
Some people there's different reasons for doing it, and there's also sometimes a good reason to stop masturbating for an extended period. If you've ever heard of a dead dick, or
surprisingly, I haven't.
You haven't? All right.
Please tell us
dead dick,
Doctor.
or if a clitoris becomes destimulated, like
Okay.
it's right, like the Hitachi magic wand is kind of famous for, if it's being overused, then it comes to the point that the clitoris can't feel anything else. And the same thing goes for people who masturbate too much. Is the glands, the head, the tip of the penis has become so overstimulated that it no longer reacts, especially doesn't react with a partner. So what you need to do is stop abusing it. And I don't mean to use this in the Catholic term, but I am using it in the Catholic term. If you stop abusing this center of nerve endings, feeling does sort of come back a little bit. That's why some people participate in No Nut November. Other people are fighting porn addiction, so they want to do No Nut November. Another thing too is some people will avoid masturbating if they're trying to have children, because it takes 72 hours on average for a man's testicles to repopulate completely. And it also makes them easier to come. Now, the thing is, the body will, if you have been having orgasms on a fairly regular basis, if you stop cold turkey like that occasionally, or if you're youthful, like you're a teenager, and your body is just beginning to ramp up, then you will begin to have the wet dreams. So if you cease masturbating, cease finding any outlet for orgasm, as a man, you will possibly begin to start having wet dreams again. That can cause a wet dream. And that body thing usually has nothing to do with anything that's in your dreams as you are dreaming. It's just it's like breathing or your heart beating. It's something that happens naturally. And that's why some people participate in No Nut November.
Why not February? It's like the shortest month of the year. Like why 31 days? Like wouldn't 28 be enough?
Well, you got February funk. Like, I mean, that's such
What's
a depressing
February?
month.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
it's a really depressing month. So, like, I
There
would
you
want
go.
to masturbate the most. And
And there's only
Like-
30 days in November, so not 31.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did I tell you that counting is not my strongest suit?
but I mean, I think that these kind of things, like, dare we call them a trend? Like, they come and go, and like
Yeah.
they might not make that much sense in the first place, but it rides out or it stays.
But it does make sense now that it's explained. Again, like the first time I encountered it was during the first episode of season 5 of Big Mouth. So
It did get propagated by Reddit. Reddit has tons of posts about it. That's where I first heard of No Nut November. There's tons of memes. The thing is, like, if you're looking to sort of like, if you find that there we go. Yeah, there we go. Forbid Fapping February.
Yes,
Roshan has
this
come up
makes
with a
more
new
sense.
name. There is a lot of things happening with February that is
like,
kind of
you do it on February and then you have a break on the 14th. It's like the 14th is the cheat day in your Forbid Fapping February. Only if you're, well, no, not even only. Like February 14th is your official cheat day of Forbid Fapping February.
all right. I may have to clip this and post it to Reddit to get Reddit's opinion on that. To forbid fapping February, but that's a thing. And when I was saying that people who are trying to like rebuild their stamina or their sensation, like to kill the dead dick, To kill the dead dick, that seems
That's harsh. It's like,
yeah.
poor dick.
Or
What did you
to
do?
if they're trying to have children. I'm not saying stop for 30 days. It should be less time to do that. There we go. Oh, what are we doing? There we are. Just had to block a user again. That's weird. All right. And then we are going to be moving on to the next question. Thank you, Roshan and Steve, for your comments. My partner has a foot fetish, but I think feet are nasty. Oh, boys. I'd love to humor them, but the thoughts of it makes me nauseous. Why is this a thing? I can understand boobs, butts, and legs, but feet. Kinky, you have the hot seat here.
I mean, as much as I'm sure the way the question is turned is to make it a little bit funny, like humor and stuff, you still need to be respectful of your partner's kinks and also desires, especially when that person tells you about it, because it usually comes from a place of vulnerability, especially when it comes to kinks like that, kinks that are not necessarily publicized. I'm gonna say publicized because I don't see any good word in English for that. Or when it is when it is seen is usually as the butt of a joke. So I mean, when I first started to see foot fetishes, it wasn't necessarily in a great light. It was it was always a butt of some jokes. So first, be respectful and be mindful of it. And two, I mean, if it doesn't float your boat, don't try to humor your partner into it, like to do it, because I mean, if you really don't want to do it and if it's really something that you find repulsive, you're not gonna have fun. They're not necessarily gonna have fun, even though your intentions are good and great. So yeah, I would tell you to, I mean, accept what your partner fetish is that, but also accept that if it's something that really does not turn you on or really repulses you, I mean, it's okay not to do it.
Boom. Starla, I'm curious to see your answer here.
Foot fetish is like one of my favorite things in the world. But bottom line is, sexually, if you're not into something, there's no point in faking it. There's no, like, when you're not comfortable, you are just not comfortable. And it's a disservice to you and your partner if you give into that pressure and go along with it. And you have to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, and keep them that way. And then maybe down the line, like, you get curious. Like, if you're not curious or just open-minded about it, then it's just not for you. It's not your thing. But there are a lot of people with foot fetish, and there's a lot of women who love to have their feet rubbed. Like, all your nerves are there, and it's also just a very sweet gesture.
Yeah.
Like, to see a man at the bottom of your feet, like, touching them like they're golden. It's, anyway, I think it's a very generous gesture to give a foot massage. So, but it's not for everybody.
All right. I want to sort of address a part of this question. Was they can understand boobs, butts, and legs as sexy, but not feet. And I think that sort of indicates that they've been programmed by society to look at these objects as the forbidden objects, and that's why they're attractive. They're told that they're attractive. I'm not saying, I'm definitely saying do not yuck your partner's yum, but at least maybe find out or think about why you think it's nasty. Do you think it's nasty because your friend, your partner has, foot fungus or something? Is that why it's nasty? Or you think their feet smell? Maybe you want to address that by starting off the foreplay with washing their feet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And sometimes a lot of people, far too many people, forget when you are sharing sex with someone else, it shouldn't be about you. It should be about the both of you. And if you treat your partner with this thing that they like, that if you think about it, if you can find a way that it's not nasty to you, and then see how they react, then you should probably find yourself becoming more engaged, because you should be happy making your partner happy. And that is my take on that as well. Like, but I think feet are nasty is written in the question, and I'm kind of curious as to why they're nasty and legs aren't, or why butts aren't, right? And feet are. So,
like any part, like people like armpit, like some people armpits are their thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
like,
But then again, it depends. I mean, I love myself a foot massage, but I personally I love like having my face in boobs. So I guess it also depends on what personally turns you on, and again, what you kind of want out of the encounter that you have. I mean, I've had depression long enough in order for it to kill my libido, so I kind of learned that sex can not necessarily only be about sex. It could also just be an activity that you do and you just have pleasure with. So it could also be an avenue that you can look into as well.
now I did indulge a partner who wanted to explore feet. They hadn't really had a foot thing, but they wanted to explore my feet, and that's when I discovered I am too ticklish to participate. I nearly broke their nose. I feel very bad about that.
my goodness.
So it's one of those things. The person is still a friend today, but it's one of those things that's going to haunt me forever. Is I booted them in the face. It was an accident. It was just a reflex twitch, but they cracked my neck. So that was a completely different story, which has been said on this channel
This
before.
is a little bit
Oh,
unrelated,
tit
but this one time I had this really pokey earring, and it went up the guy's nose and gave him a nosebleed.
Damn,
I felt
girl.
So these things happen, and I felt so bad. But anyway, I feel you.
Very hard. All right. Sex accidents happen.
Yes.
As long as you show care for your partner, in the bounds of your relationship or scene, then you're doing the best you. All right, we're ready for the next question. The next question. Oh, why do I have to have this one first? All right, the next question is, what's the difference between cross-dressing and cosplay?
Oh God.
Between cross-dressing and cosplay. I am famous for hating labels. I guess it's intent, but it's the person who's doing it is the person who gets to decide what it should be called. That's my only thing I would say about that. The difference between cross-dressing and cosplay. Kinky.
Well, my personal distinction between cross-dressing and cosplay is that when you cosplay a character. So you cosplay like a anime character or movie character. You could gender bend it, which is something I really, really enjoy, is to see gender bending characters. So for me, and that's my personal definition, so please tell me if I'm wrong, is that when you cosplay, you actually cosplay something that is already created, while when you decide to cross-dress, then you create an entire persona on your own that is different. I think that a lot of cross-dressing that we see is through the art of drag, where you would have drag kings and drag queens. In my own personal view, I feel that I cross-dress into Miss Kinky Karma because, again, Kinky and my Muggle name is absolutely not the same person. So I kind of see it that way. So yeah, that's how I see the difference between both of them.
Just in the effort of trying to understand, can I, if say a male character, a male person decides to dress as Cher.
That's cosplay. I've seen cosplays.
That's
of
cosplay,
Cher.
not cross-dressing.
No, because you're interpreting
By your definition.
By my definition, you are impersonating someone, or you're impersonating someone or a character. Whereas if you decide to cross-dress as a woman and call yourself Cher, then that's you. That's something that's completely different. You're the creator of the person that you're personifying. Make sense?
All right. Accept it. Starla.
I would say cross-dressing is it's about identity, but it's the word cross-dressing. It's to put on clothes, dress, but also crossing is like going with the binary and you're crossing over to the other side so that there's two genders. And that's like a very just simple kind of mindset of gender, but gender fucking is binary. And then cosplay, like you said, it's more for like a Comic-Con. You're a character, you're a cartoon character. But I think you can cross-dress in cosplay. For example, like I would say that Rocky Horror Picture Show is cross-dressing, but if I were to dress up as Frankenfurter, who's a man dressing as a woman, so if I'm a woman dressing as a man dressing as a woman, then that's like cross-dressing.
Yeah. Well, see, I personally would see it as a cosplay because Frankenfurter is
a stylish character.
Is a character. One of the reasons why I feel kind of ishy talking about cross-dressing is that I know that it can be seen as a slur for non-binary and trans folks. So that's why I really want to make the distinction as an artist's point of view, where yes, you can cross-dress in the art of drag, but you can also cross-dress in any other type of show business persona that you want to create.
Well, and like for an example for me, like a really solid example and something that I deal with in the fetish niche is a corporate businessman, white shirt, tie, and he wants to wear a wig and high heels and woman's lingerie. And that's just what they would call part-timers. So it's just the fashion. It's just the dressing. So it's something that you put on and then you take off.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've dealt with over the last decade that I've been working as a dominatrix. So, and I don't consider it. There's such a debate with like with what a part-timer is. And I don't think
a part-timer
is
someone
where
only does it
you're
part-time.
Yeah. Like an outfit that you can put on and take off. And my experience with gender is it's something that you search within your own identity. And I've met a lot of part-timers. So, and like I have the utmost respect for a man who is so curious and fascinated by women that he wants to feel like a woman or have that fantasy for an hour or two, and then go to those places in his mind and then take it off, and then his lunch break is over, then he goes back to the office, and then he goes back to his wife. And it's this little gender trip that you do on a lunch break.
Yeah.
Like, and this is real. And that guy might have a foot fetish too. So like I have the utmost respect for somebody who can schedule all this shit. They're like, okay, I go to the dry cleaners, I get my suit and tie, but then I'm gonna go pick up my pink lingerie, have it in a little bag, go and see the dominatrix, be on the clock, hide the evidence, and then go back to life. Because he scheduled that and he did that for himself. because some men, this is their fantasy. It's their identity, and you have to embrace it, and you have to embrace the things that make you feel alive. So yeah, I have a soft spot for cross-dressing.
I want to state I don't think any of us were wrong. We all put forward 3 different interpretations to that answer that are not necessarily mutually exclusive. But I think the fact that that question exists is kind of proof that
It's a good question.
It is.
Yeah,
And like we all of our interpretations, like they're our own perspective, they're from our own life experiences. So
and I believe the legal term is mens rea, guilty mind, and so intent is very important with anything that you do. And I think all of us sort of addressed is what the person was intending to do by either dressing in a character or in a costume or dressing across gender lines. And to one of my more controversial things that I'd like to say way too much is that I believe gender. Was it Johnson? Not Johnson. The Kinsey report came out saying 10% of all people are born gay, but I believe in nature there's a balance. So I believe only 10% of all people are born straight, and everybody else is somewhere along a spectrum. And whether or not they're experiencing that part of their spectrum by cross-dressing, on a lunch hour once a week, or if they are bisexual or pansexual, etc., that's somewhere along that between those the in the 80% that's in between, people are there. There's no set things. That's why I dislike labels. That's why I treat people as they wish to be treated. Like, I will not be upset if somebody calls me a they. That's fine. Right? But I know that other people are struggling to be recognized as a they. And so I will specify that I'm here as a he, him, just so we can understand that other people who want to be called they are called they, and they deserve to be. And that's why I'm saying it's the intent behind everything. Now, Steve has another question that he's throwing in. Isn't there an element of humiliation in cross-dressing? And I'm going to say that goes down to the person's intent while doing it. And so it's not for everyone that it is humiliation. For some people, it happens to be liberating. So, but the other 2 panelists, what's your thoughts on that comment about it being humiliation as part of cross-dressing?
I will. Okay. No, actually, I'm actually very
sorry,
interested
Kinky, your chain is going against the microphone.
Oops,
and
sorry.
It was there.
I'm actually very interested to hear what you have to say, Miss Goddess, as a dominatrix.
Well, you could, if a person could label it as humiliating, but really they're romanticizing being a woman and they're romanticizing being vulnerable. But I think it's character specific. Because you can't just lump these simple emotions on things, because like emotions in itself are very complicated. They're very loaded, and there's like a lot of different layers that can be happening at once. So you might want to label it as humiliation, but it's just like a puff word, like, because but with that said, people want to be humiliated out of free will. And if you're doing that out of free will, then that's a fun thing to do. But you are not being forced, or if you're choosing to be degraded, you are doing that out of free will. Otherwise, you are actually being degraded. And nobody actually likes to be degraded. You might think you do in your mind, like have this fun little fantasy, but when you're actually being degraded or humiliated, you feel like shit. You feel like the other person is overriding you and saying, I'm better than you, you're lesser than me. And that's actually not fun. So these are like block words and block emotions that we use to try to formulate fantasies, like you're ordering a pizza with the toppings or whatever, right? I want some humiliation and cross-dressing. Okay, like, but like really it's like that's a really loaded thing. So basically I think it's about the romance of being a woman. And but some people can be total assholes, yes, with cross-dressing. It's like say like at a Halloween party or something, and guys are just like goofing off, and like it's um seems like disrespectful or something. So it's like it's character specific. And so I would say no, it's not always about humiliation, but it could. That's just sort of a block term that we use.
Okay.
I think again it comes down to their intent. And when you were talking about humiliation, like people don't really want humiliation. It comes down with also like submission. Like the submissive has to agree to be submissive. They have to give consent to allow someone else to be the master or mistress. And the same thing goes with when somebody is requesting to be humiliated. They're looking for somebody to be the humiliator, the person who is to humiliate them. And it comes down to play. And there's a lot of fine lines in play and consent. There's even like consensual non-consent is a type of play some people get into. And you have to understand that true consent is not lost. And safe words are respected, etc. in these things. So, you know, some people might say that they have a fantasy of consensual non-consent without limits or not using safe words. That's not safe. And that is not consensual non-consent. So it does come down to the wording, and it does come down to the intent. And I think the intent sort of overrides everything else. So does that help, Kiki? Or
yeah, it's actually because I mean the answer that I personally had is that because I mean when I first was introduced into cross-dressing, there was always some type of element of humiliation. The submissive that was cross-dressing was actually always a punishment from their dom for X or Y reasons. So I totally understand Steve's association with cross-dressing with degradation. Yeah, it is a trope.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I don't really have an answer.
There's also another trope is for a man to dress as a dominatrix.
Yeah.
To punish their slave, whether their slave is gender male or gender female is unknown or can't be. Oh, sorry, we just got another spammer.
He's a very
persistent one. They've been blocked several times, so I don't know how they can come back. But that is all right. I don't know what's happening, but we're going to try to figure this out. This is the first time I've really had much trouble with that now. But yeah, so that is something to look at is intent. Intent is very important, and there's no one size fits all because people are different, and that's okay. Are we ready for our next question?
Yes.
Our next question is, how do I convince my girlfriend to have a threesome? I love how they spelled it too. So, Starla, Goddess Starla.
You can't. She'll either want to or she won't want to. So it's one question, and you can't convince. If she doesn't want to do it, she like don't pressure her. Like, if you got a good thing, don't fuck it up. Like, because I'm telling you, like, your eyes can be bigger than your stomach, and you don't know, like, and like I gotta tell you,
or your penis.
Wow.
Sorry.
It's perfect.
No,
I love this.
But it's like, and it's like, you gotta, like, how do you even know you could handle more than one person? Like, you don't. Like,
drop mic.
So, like, it's a fun thing to do, but these things are so complicated. Everyone's got to have a good time. So there's human drama attached to all this. Sometimes you just catch people at a party, or you go to the bar and like you all leave together, and it's like it's a miracle. And miracles do happen, but count your blessings if it happens to you. But or else you just, if that's really important to you to have an open relationship like that, you have to make sure that you're with somebody who's into that from the get-go. So go like, well, there's swingers clubs, there's adult websites and places like that are for swingers. So if that's your thing, and if that's what really makes you happy, you can have an open lifestyle like that. But people who have very open relationships like that, they tend to have these formulas that really work for them, and they know what to look for. And the guy really has to be a pleaser. He has to be a giver. So if that's not you, then you're kind of, yeah.
All right. I guess I'm going to jump in. I loved a lot of your answer. And the thing is, not all threesomes are one guy, two women.
Yeah.
I think in
Sorry,
any...
when I saw that, I'm automatically like...
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, they're trying to convince their girlfriend to have a threesome. In group sex, especially a threesome, everybody better be interested in everyone else. That is the given. I also want to thank Roshan. He's been reporting the spam comments as well. So hopefully that does help. Thank you, Roshan. I will get a bit more authority if we have more people subscribing to us on YouTube. So please subscribe to YouTube so we can get over 100 subscribers and make this channel a little bit easier to find. Every thumbs up, though, and every like helps. My flippant answer to that is how to convince my girlfriend to have a threesome, because, surprise, this has not been the first time I've had this question, is to introduce her to two people she'll trust more than you. That might be a way for her to have a threesome. It does come down to if two people are not interested in each other in that threesome, that one person in the corner apex of that triangle, that chevron, I guess it is, when it's not closed on the other end, better be a damn good multitasker. And as Goddess Starla mentioned, better be a damn good pleaser. Miss Kiki Karma.
Well, first, if it's the first time that you had that conversation, I will give the benefit of the doubt. That is, it's something that you always wanted to do. It's a fantasy that you want to act out, and you do not know how to ask your girlfriend, hence you using those words that you're using. First, make sure that she's bisexual. I mean, because if she's not, it's... Nah,
he may want to have a male friend come in as well. So.
Or if you want to do a Eiffel Tower, that's cool too. But if your intent is to have two girls, another woman with your girlfriend, or another vagina, someone with another vulva with your girlfriend, make sure that she's also going to enjoy it. So that's first. Second, if you want to introduce that talk to her, check in to see what she'd be willing to and what would be her hard boundaries. I know that some, you'd actually be surprised to know how many women actually do want to have a threesome, but society tells them that it's wrong. So if she trusts you, and if you are good enough to open the conversation and she finds that she's comfortable to continue the conversation, the second thing that I would suggest you guys to see is to know how far she's willing to go and to go at her pace, especially if she's willing to do less things at what you want to do. One of the things that my boyfriend always says is that you have to go to the speed of the slowest runner. Mm-hmm. So that's that. And third, yeah, that's how he opened our relationship. He's like, we're going at your pace. So, and third and lastly, especially if you're in a monogamous relationship, do not take your friends. Do not, like, just like Goddess said, there's going to be human drama. Do not take your friend. Do not take someone that you're gonna see. I personally suggest sex workers. That's what they're for. They're there to help people. Pay them what they ask. Do not bargain. That is stupid.
But tip if you want.
Please tip, especially if you had fun. But yeah, don't hesitate to have the services of a sex worker who most probably will have more experience than the both of you in group sex. And if you're in an open relationship, don't shove the third person up your girlfriend's mouth. Like, don't do that. That's not nice to do. So yeah.
Boom. I think that's good answers by all. You know what? I want to just add in something. Feel free, anything that you want to add. Kinky mentioned that some people might be interested in threesomes with societal expectations. This comes down to also, this is a throwback to the person who understands that butts and legs and boobs are sexy, but feet are nasty. That comes into societal training.
Yeah. I mean,
right? For a lot of things that we do, we are trained in a certain way due to maybe a religion or a community that we grew up in. Sometimes that's what makes certain things fun, because they're dirty, because they're against those communities, and we're rebelling. But at the same time, it comes down to like intent and communication and respect for everyone that you're with. If you cannot have respect for a partner, then you should not be with that partner. Anyone have anything to add?
Pay your sex workers.
Boom. All right. Next question that we have. Asking out of love, do periods hurt? Oh dear. Sometimes I think my girlfriend is exaggerating / looking for attention. Kinky. You cannot reach them through the screen.
I am a child-free woman, okay? There are many reasons why I am a child-free woman, but one reason that really was burned into my mind is that I had like those debilitating cramps because when I was a teenager, when I was starting to get the hang of it in periods, and then when I asked my female doctor if that was normal and why the fuck did I have cramps, she's like, oh, it's just a preview of what you're gonna have when you're gonna actually go into labor. And I'm like, I'm never gonna do labor. Like, there's no way. If I cannot handle a period, I'm never gonna handle childbirth. So yeah, no, it's actually not fun. And she's not exaggerating. She's not looking for attention. And it is not normal. Periods should not hurt that much. If it does, she should seek medical attention. And unfortunately, the woman body is not as respected in the medical field as it should be. And it's unfortunate. But please believe her when she says that it hurts. And if, again, it really is debilitating. I know people who cannot go to work. I know people who cannot, like, are literally bedridden for the week of their period. And it's not like they want to. It's not something that they particularly enjoy. But yeah, it's not normal. Sometimes it can actually hide other bigger problems like endometriosis, syndrome polycystic. So basically your ovaries going and your hormones going to shit, and also cancers. So if she doesn't have none of those things, just buy her some chocolate. Give her like a hot towel for her to put on her back. And if you can't rub her feet or just scratch her hair and say that she's the best woman in the world, get the fuck out.
Well said.
Yeah, periods they're not fair. It's not like, I didn't know I signed up for this. Like, it's just like it's the kiss of death. Like, it's like,
no.
Biology is a bitch. Yeah, and like I'll be bedridden. I'm also childless. But like I have really bad cramps, and it's just like it's the bleeding. It's like I need that. Come on. Like, why are we designed that way? So it's just like it's unfortunate to like just see blood leave your body and everything, and but I wouldn't say she's exaggerating, and Yeah, it's not fair.
No. No.
Love doctor.
Trust your partner. And I'm shutting up.
It's so cute. And I mean, we're talking about cramps, but like I have like PMS is a thing. And it's like it's really funny because when I'm not PMSing, my boyfriend is like, I exactly know when you're gonna have your periods because like you're the most erratic person I've ever seen and you're gonna cry for no good reason at all. So I know where to prepare the chocolate. It's not something that is fun. It's I mean, yeah, we have a clitoris. Yeah, it's cleaner because it's inside, but we bleed. It sucks.
I know I'm PMSing. Like this is a thing where like when I go to the pharmacy, and I'm going through the like the Jean Couture, I'm going through the perfume aisle, and the smell of the perfume
God,
is so
yeah.
nice that it makes you want to cry.
Yeah.
Like, and I heard someone else say that they cried from the smell of perfume, and I thought, that, come on, that's exaggerating. And then yeah,
It happens.
yeah, that happened to me. Like, I was having a really heavy day and yeah, PMSing, and it's like, okay, yes, smell of perfume is so beautiful. Life is so precious.
Or sore boobs. Sore boobs. Honestly, I was literally pissed off because, by the way, you're not gonna always have those symptoms for the rest of your life. Some symptoms are gonna go and others are gonna come in. So like I don't have as much cramps as I used to have, but my boobs hurt so bad. I mean, I miss the cramps. I'd rather have the cramps than the boobs. So yeah.
I'm still keeping my mouth shut. All right, we Steve has given us another question here, and we're going to answer the questions as they come in, Steve. As long as we try to aim for about 90 minutes, so we're an hour in already.
Yeah.
One last question: has porn on balance been a liberating or harmful force in shaping the expectations and desires? Maybe a topic for another day. We're handling it now, and my answer is going to be I'll keep it very simple. Yes, it has been both harmful and liberating. Kiki, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, I'd say both. Porn has been very liberating because it helped me with my sexuality when I wasn't when I wasn't ready enough to consciously just live my truth as a very happy bisexual woman. Porn helped me normalize it in a weird sense of way. Yes, there's a male gaze, but I mean, there's some other things to be packed. But it was harmful because when I watched it, I was a kid and I didn't have that much. I mean, yeah, I had great sex ed, but it wasn't necessarily the best. So it kind of grew into expectations of what a woman should like or how a woman should behave in bed that I kind of still do to this day. But is it because I was like influenced by porn, or is it just like that's how I react? At the end of the day, it is what it is. But yeah, no, porn is fun. And again, there are a lot of stuff that I love to watch in porn that are actually fantasies that I will never do in reality because it's not something that I'm into physically, but it turns me on.
Reading that question again, I'm going to have to say, if it's on balance, I would say it's a harmful. Sorry, because they asked if it was on balance, if it has been liberating or more harmful. And I would say the majority of porn, yeah, anal sex doesn't happen at that speed.
No, don't. Please don't.
All right, Goddess Starla, your answer to that question.
I would say it's both, but if I had to choose, I would say it's more liberating, just because as people need porn. Sexuality is just part of our nature, and at this point in history, we have a lot of material. At this point, but it's also harmful in the platforms, of course. And if we want to look at free tube sites and everything that's going on with that, the people who create that content do not own it. This is pirated, and that is absolutely harmful. It's harmful to the people portrayed in the videos because it's free, it's being spread, but they don't own their image. They don't own themselves. So we're at a time where it's dangerous to put yourself out there and to be recognized, and people, because they see porn, they think that they're entitled to it, or they're entitled to the people performing. And that's scary. And we're living in a time where we need all this instant gratification, and we want everything at the click of a button, and we want it right away, and it's very competitive, and that's harmful. But life imitates art. I know, like, a lot of men that I've met, they'll come to me and they'll say, I saw this in a video. Can you do the same thing to me, like in this fetish video? And it's like, oh, his imagination's going, like, it's giving him something to think about and fantasize about. And it's like, and that in itself isn't harmful. It's creative. So I'm gonna go on the side and say that it's liberating.
All right, differences of opinions on that one.
Yeah.
Again,
Go. I'm sorry.
there are also ethical porn sites available. I cannot think of them right off the top, but I think, Kinky, you've listed some in the past as well.
I think Belsida is an ethical porn site that can be used. If you like soft erotica, I know Patreon. There are nice ways for them to do it. OnlyFans is one of the best platforms. It's personally one of the platforms that I really like. As much as they were douche and they almost decided to just cut the bread of the people that made that platform, it is a pretty good platform if you want to have porn, or if you want to have ethical sex stuff, because the way it works is that you have to have the consent of everybody in the videos that you're going to see. So they all need to have their own OnlyFans in order for it to appear. So it's kind of nice.
All right. I do, at this point, I do want to, I'm changing the little ticker at the bottom. This show is running thanks to you. So my manager's link tree is at the bottom. At the very top of that says buy me a drink. You click on that and you can donate to the show. We recommend the cost of a drink, $10 or so, and everything that will come in the next 24 hours will be split among the 3 performers that you're seeing here on screen. So that's linktr.ee/Paul Ash, my manager, and that will be donated. That will be going to all the performers you're seeing on the screen. And time for the next question is, how many dating apps is too many? Starla.
Just fill up your phone. If you want to put yourself out there, it's on you. It's your time. I personally, I have about one at a time, like, and because if people are sending you messages, or it's going to keep you busy. So to not get confused, like, I like to keep one at a time. But I mean, people have like plenty of fish, but then if they're kinky, they might go on FetLife or somewhere like that. So in that case, like, they would have 2.
Technically, FetLife isn't a dating app, though.
Yep.
It's a lifestyle app, but
it acts like a dating app.
All right.
But yeah, if you want to put yourself out there, it's on you. Like, sky's the limit, right?
True. Sorry to interrupt. I apologize. I guess my answer to that question is more than you want. You can, as long as you're using them, you're giving them the time that you desire to give them. It's not a chore to do. Then use as many dating apps as you want. Though it does get weird if you connect with somebody with the same person on 2 different apps, because then keeping track of the conversation gets a little harder. But if you tell the truth, it's not that hard at all. Kinky.
Same as the Love Doctor. I mean, as much as you're able to give the time of day to the people who are going to message you, because just as much as it sucks to send a message on a dating app and no one answers, you don't want to be that person. So make sure you're able to give enough attention to the people who are going to write to you in those dating apps, in those dating apps. And if you see that you can't, well, just get rid of the one that interests you the least.
Well said. All right. We're ready for the next question, or any more conversation? No. All right. Next question we're bringing up is, we all hear about toxic masculinity, but is there such a thing as toxic femininity? And kinky.
I'm going to be controversial, but I do think there is, but not in the way you think. We see, because the concept of toxic masculinity is basically a definition of what a man is supposed to be. And that definition is shoved in the throats of all of the people that present themselves as men. And they pretty much don't necessarily adhere to it, or not completely. I do feel that there's something that we can see as toxic femininity, especially when we see how one woman approaches her sexuality. I feel that sometimes it's never a spectrum. It's always all or nothing. So you either have to be the prima donna or the biggest slut. Like, there's no in between. And I do feel that there are some stigma and there's some tropes that one expects a woman to have in order to be a good woman, you know? So if you look at some feminist circles, shaving your legs and deciding to present as femme is a cardinal sin. Whereas if you go into other circles, deciding to be a little bit more non-binary or a little bit more butch is also a sin. So I feel that it's always a catch-22 when it comes to women. And that in itself is toxic femininity. I see it a lot, and I'm more sensibilized by that through the trans community, through a lot of discussions that they have, where some of the activists said that they have to look feminine, because if they don't, then it's kind of like we take their femininity out of them. So that in itself, I find that it's completely toxic and sad, not just for them, but for all the other women in the spectrum. So yeah.
Got Starla.
Yeah, of course. Toxic femininity is a thing. Like, I mean, unhealthy behavior is unhealthy behavior. I mean, lying and hurting people, violence. It's not just men. Women do this too. Maybe it's just not recognized as much or addressed as much. But I'd say, like, maybe some characteristics of toxic femininity are different. Like, they can be more passive aggressive. Maybe like this, these are just like general ways of explaining what it is. But people in general, if you are have high emotional intelligence, it doesn't mean that you use that for good. You can use it for bad too, and really like play with people's emotions for various reasons. So I mean, that's not yeah. So unhealthy behavior is unhealthy behavior. Like, if you're like, malicious behavior is malicious behavior.
Well said. I was just going to answer that by saying yes. And that's because the question is there such a thing? And yes, there is. And I can't give better examples than those that have been given by my 2 stellar guests, Goddess Starla Vamp and Miss Kinky Karma. I've just realized that we've got to the end of the anonymous questions. So we'll just hang out a few moments to give people to put a question in chat if they want, or into the anonymous questions on the Slido, the event code TLD203. Just a reminder that if anyone wants to donate to the show, where'd it go? There it is. So that's covering me down there. Goddess Starla, is there anything that you have coming up that you want to mention, or any other platforms other than your Instagram you want to tell people to find you on?
I'm on Twitter, and I also have a website, femdombride.com, with my fetish videos.
What's the website again?
Femdombride.com.
Fem.bride?
Femdom.
Oh, femdom.
Yeah.
With 2 M's?
Just 1 M. Oh, 2, like, here, I'll write it here.
Okay, all right. You're going to put that into the chat, and I'll put it up on screen for people in a moment. And your Twitter, are you Goddess Starla Vamp on Twitter as well?
Yes.
So Goddess Starla Vamp on Twitter. And Miss Kinky Karma.
Well, not as of yet, but I am open for bookings. I have a number, yay! So expect some things pretty much in the New Year's. I know that I have some pretty cool project lined up for Black History Month.
Nice.
And perhaps at the end of March, but we will see before that, perhaps of vaudeville. We never know.
I do know that my manager has stated that they want to see you on vaudeville, but the thing is, there's only a couple shows before they close down till the new year. So femdombride.com. The capitals are not necessary, but it's just in there to help people remember how it's spelt. Femdombride.com. That's for Goddess Starla Vamp. Miss Kinky Karma can be found at miss.kinkykarma on Instagram. Again, capitals not necessary, but they are there to help people to memorize how to spell them. I'm the Love Doctor. I host the Vaudeville Variety Show each Wednesday. If people have had fun, please remember to give us the thumbs up, share the video with your friends. We will be back here next Sunday night with I'll be back here, with 2 other panelists. I apologize. You both have been stellar. That was a pun for Starla. Guests to have on here. Did you both have fun tonight? And in case any questions are coming in.
It's always a pleasure to come here and stir up some trouble and just kidnap one of the panelists to take her place. Allegedly.
Did you Nancy Kerrigan, Zyra?
Who, me? Am I the villain? I think I'm the villain.
All right. A question has come in under the wire. Are we ready for another question at this point?
Yes.
One to close it off unless we get another one in. As Steve has said, okay, that was not my last question. Why is it that kink remains taboo? All right, we've got 2 questions. So we got this one and we've got an anonymous one. Steve, I love the fact that you were asking questions. Thank you very much for engaging in the show. Why is it that kink remains taboo? And that goes to Starla first.
It remains taboo because that's where it's supposed to stay. There's always going to be things that are taboo, that you can play with ethically. But people are always, your mind is always going to go to these weird, like the coworker, the wet dream about the coworker. We don't know why our mind goes there, but it does. And it's taboo. It's taboo to sleep with your coworker if you're married. And that's where it stays. It's just an idea, and it's something that you can play with, and it's a fantasy. I think kinks and fetishes, within reason, that are ethical, it's becoming more accepted. Like, I know when I started fetish over a decade ago, people were terrified of BDSM. And when you announce you're a dominatrix, people thought you were psychotic. and that's not necessarily so. So it's good that these things are becoming less demonized, and I would say they are ethical, taboo, ethical kinks are becoming more mainstream. Like, I mean, it's an entertainment. We have way more documentaries, way more content than we've had like ever. So we're becoming more educated, and we're becoming more open-minded and intellectual about it. And that's what we want, is for people to be accepting of things that are healthy and help you learn and get along with people. I mean, anyway, so but I think like taboo things, it's supposed to stay there. You're supposed to have your 9 to 5 corporate world, and then this is the thing, the counter world. So
Kinky.
Well, I think it's because it makes people uncomfortable, and people don't like being uncomfortable. Because kinks, and various types of kinks, and I do believe that the definition of kink is vast, and it depends on some people. I mean, I've been told that I'm kinky because I'm polyamorous and I have open relationships. And I don't find myself kinky at all, as much as my name is Kinky Karma. But I do think that the reason why it is taboo, and it is going to remain taboo, is the sense of uncomfortableness that comes with the kink, that comes with owning the fact that you have a kink. It's kind of like a very simple way of saying it is, it's always going to be a guilty pleasure. So the type of pleasure that you will enjoy in a guilty fashion. Do I personally find it sad? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I do find it sad when it prevents you from living, because you only have one life to live and you never know when it's gonna end, so might as well live it to your fullest. But yeah, it's always going to be, in a sense, it's always going to stay taboo because people are uncomfortable, whether it's because they don't want to own it, or because they feel jealous of someone, of seeing someone doing it, seeing someone doing something that they always wanted to do. That's why it's going to stay there. And again, the interpretation I'm having is it's a lot influenced with non-monogamy, ethical non-monogamy, and this is how I see it. It's always going to stay taboo, just like kink, because it makes people uncomfortable, and people don't want to address that uncomfortableness, and it's okay at the end.
Boom. Well said. I'm taking a slightly different bent on this. I'm gonna say it's because it's taboo, it's kink. Right? Other than that, there's so many things. 30 years ago, oral sex was taboo. But it's not so much now. It in most communities, it's in North America, it's considered very acceptable. And that's an example of why some people think oral sex is not kinky. It's sort of part of the regular repertoire of sex. The fact that it is something is taboo is kind of what keeps it in the kink realm. And as Goddess Starla mentioned, as long as it's ethical, as long as it's consensual, then it should be as accepted as possible. But the thing is, if it's not, then it is a taboo subject and a kink. Just my extrapolation on that, not whether or not everyone agrees with me on that. I will put that out there. But with education, things are becoming more and more mainstream every day. But as much as there's also some people who are trying to throw back to witch burning days. Thank you, Texas. Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry to diss Texas. Not everyone in Texas kind of supports their governor. Apparently less than the amount of, less than the amount of people who are voting age support their governor. Sorry, did I get political? I apologize for getting political.
Hey, if it's not you, it's me, so it's all good.
It's all good. All right. Any comments? Any follow up on that? I liked both of your answers, but
No, I think it kind of summers it. It's nice.
all right. The last question at this point, unless we get something else in, is my partner and I have begun to engage in percussion play. Love the flogger, don't mind the belt, but I hate the spanks. Any tips on how to make the spanking any better? I feel semi-aggressed on this. All right. I've been accused of having a heavy hand. I can't help because like my head is huge and my hand is about the same size as my head. I like the feel of a spank over using a flogger, but I'd like to have my hand sting as well. But unfortunately, with getting my hand with that much coverage to sting can be too harmful or hurt too much for potential partners of mine. So I need to scale down. Anytime that you are hurting your partner, intended or not, it better be what they desire. And if it's not what they desire, then you need to sort of adjust your behavior. And I personally will struggle with that. I'm willing to listen to any tips anyone else has to make the spankings better. We're starting with Goddess Starla Vamp.
I have some experience with spanking, so less would be more. You can give a really soft spanking, and you go for the meat, the meatiest part of the buttocks, and alternate back and forth. Because some people, they will keep spanking on the same cheek, and if that's not what you're going for, you should. It's polite to alternate the cheeks.
All right. Miss Kinky Karma.
Always go with a crescendo. Crescendo is nice. It also helps gauge the distance. So like, always start at like soft, and as you go along, you could just go a little bit harder. I know for the person that like is doing the slapping, it kind of helps with the sensation if you don't like your hand tickling too much. And also for the other person receiving it, she's still gonna feel it, but it's gonna build up a kind of a resistance that is going to make it a little bit more pleasurable. But you also need to ask and make sure that it's okay with your partner first. When you spank, it's okay to pat. So, or you could either pat with your hand, or you could pat with something that's soft, because it kind of gives a contrast to the pain and the pleasure. So those are the main tips I would give you. And always, again, the meat, more it is. And also the intent of what you want to spank. Do you want to spank because you want to hear the noise, or do you spank because you want it to hurt? Because depending on what you want, it's not going to be the same thing.
Sometimes the action itself is just a turn on, but you don't want the pain. And in that sense, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. It should be fun. So it can, like, you can ask the person giving it to just go very lightly. And some people, they really like the idea of it, but you don't actually like the sensation. But say you're at a fetish party and it's the cool thing to do and everyone's doing it, and you say, hey, just do it really, really softly.
I kind of say like spanking is kind of like anal. Like you have to build the thing. Like you have to build it up, because if you just go one drop, it's not gonna be fun unless again it's asked, and you always need to ask your partner. But I always feel that when it comes to spanking, you have to build something. Like needs to be a build up, like foreplay.
I mean, I believe I may have been spoiled by a previous partner who kind of wanted me to go as hard as I could. And so I got used to feeling the shock in my hand.
Yeah, but not on the first try. Like,
well, no, that's what they asked for.
Yeah.
But I understand about alternating. I understand about the pats, or like when the skin is nice and red, just giving a pass with the fingernails or other sensations, and time between. Go ahead.
But I would also say like just because like there's these certain formulas or typical things that people do, it might just not be your thing. And like it may never be your thing. It's like I meet people, you know, you think, okay, you're doing all these fun things, the spanking, the flogging, and the nipple play, but some people are like, no nipple play, no. And they will never be into like clothespins on the nipples or whatever, you know? And it's just sometimes if something's not your thing, don't feel guilty and don't do it for pressure or to please anyone. So that's what I want to say.
I think that answers that question. I don't see any new ones that have come in. I want to thank Roshan and Steve for keeping the chat alive, and extra thank to Roshan for helping with the little spam bot that attacked us. And everything. Again, one more hearty thank you to the amazing Miss Kinky Karma and the fantastic goddess Starla Vamp on her first, hopefully of many, the Love Doctor live streams. Did you have fun?
Oh, I had so much fun. This was awesome. I love just chatting about this, and it's yeah. If this helps people bring
Have better
quality
sex.
like quality experience, like adds a little sprinkle of something spicy to your life, then it's like, you know, then I did my job. So
Roshan is saying, thanks for a great show, everyone. Have an awesome week. You as well, Roshan. Thank you to all the people watching. I know that there's more than just two, but only two have been commenting. So I want to thank you all for being out there. Please try to give a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already. Thank you to both my guests. I'm the Love Doctor, and remember, I love you all. Good night.